Hello, thank you for joining me on this watercolour demonstration. My name's Bill Lupton. I'm an ambassador for the SAA and I'm also an ambassador for St Cuthbert's Mill, who supply me with my watercolour paper. For this painting I'm using burnt sienna, green gold and French ultramarine, and just 3 brushes, 25mm flat, a 12mm flat and a line writer, available from the SAA. And the paper I'm using is 15 by 11 inch Saunders Waterford 140 pound rough surface. The first thing I did was to wet the sky area and then apply some of the green gold, as you can see, leaving some white of the paper showing through. Raw sienna is a good alternative. And it's important to get the clouds in before the paper dries, so whilst that's still wet I've mixed a mix of French ultramarine and burnt sienna to create quite a dark grey, and I'm applying that in quick strokes, as you can see. It's important to get this on very quickly because I want that to run down and soften into that gold colour. I know that skies can be particularly awkward to paint, especially memorable, powerful skies. So I wrote a book called Watercolour Skies the Easy Way that's available for immediate download. It contains easy to follow instructions of how to paint 12 completely different skies. It's only £4.99 from my website www.thepaintings.co.uk. Well, the sky's still a bit damp, you can wait for it to dry, but what I'm doing now is using a wet brush to dampen the water area. And all these strokes are horizontal. Having wet the area where the water's going to go, I put in weak colours that reflect the sky above. So the first one is green gold, then I mix the burnt sienna blue to make the grey and paint that from either side. So that's the lake painted. Now I need to let that dry. Okay, when it's dry I can start working on the mountains. The first colour is quite a cool grey, again with a mix of burnt sienna and ultramarine blue. But I use water then to fade this off, just to get a little bit of interest in those distant mountains. I then need to let that completely dry before moving on to the mountains in front on the left hand side. This is the same mix, blue and the burnt sienna, but what I have done is mixed it slightly stronger, and as I come down you'll see I'll add a little bit more burnt sienna to the mix. Then what I like to do is just take a clean brush that's damp and roll it into the paint. It just makes the surface more interesting. Again, when that's completely dry I can move forward to the mountain that's in front of this one, and I'm using slightly stronger paint, as you can see. And just as before, I'm rolling a clean damp brush into there just to give the surface a little bit more texture. I've decided to put some reflections of those mountains into the lake, so I'm just using a wet brush at the moment to dampen that area. And then while the lake's still damp, I use similar colours to the mountains above to paint their reflections. please don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel. It's totally free. All this means is that you'll receive a notification whenever I upload a new video. Well, that's the lake almost finished, but what I want to do, just to make it look a little more convincing, is to put some wind lines in there, and for this I'm using an almost dry brush and just sliding it through the paint to absorb some of the colour. Well, once that mountain's dry, I can move into this foreground cliff face. These are quite strong dark colours, but again I'm just using a mix of the ultramarine blue and the burnt sienna, and as I come down you'll see I'll add more sienna to the mix. As I come down towards the bottom of this cliff face, I'm painting very carefully around the foreground rocks. Well, you can see there's quite a few different colours in that rock face now. However, what I do want to do is roll a clean damp brush in there again, just to add some more texture. I've changed to the smaller brush now, the line writer brush, and I'm using a warm mix of the burnt sienna and ultramarine blue to create a nice warm colour on the top of this rock. And then I'll use a darker mix by strengthening the brown and adding some blue to that, just to give us a nice dark shadow area. And so I work my way through all these foreground rocks using the same technique. And of course, as the rocks come forward they're getting larger. That gives me an opportunity to add a little more colour and a little more detail. And now, with a very strong mix of the burnt sienna and the ultramarine blue, I can add some real dark into those rocks. And as you can see, for this big rock in the foreground, I've changed back to the 12mm flat brush, using the same two colours, the burnt sienna and the ultramarine blue, just varying mixes to create warms and cool greys. It's difficult to really imagine how large those rocks are, so I've added a couple of people here just to give the painting scale. I am an experienced tutor and I do run regular classes around the Nottingham area. And I also do live demonstrations and workshops to various groups and societies up and down the country. If you're interested in joining one of my classes, or you're a member of a group and would like a live demonstration or workshop, why not get in touch, and I'm sure we could sort something out. Don't forget to check out my website where you'll find more about me and my work, and I'm also on Facebook. Once again, thank you for watching, and hopefully we'll see you again soon. Bye for now.